What's poppin'? We are ready to go. Just bear with me a sec. Who we got here? We got Randall. Welcome, Randall. All right, let's get this party started. We're consulting the Oracle. We'll get the latest headlines in a second, see what's going on in AI today. Let's have a look what we're going to work on. So we're going to set up a new local model. It's called Quiphos 9B. So we're going to test this out, see how it goes. I heard good things. We're going to work some more on Ornith, run some tests with Hermes mixture of experts. Check out DSpark that just dropped from DeepSeek, and also check out a new app called Open SEO, which looks pretty cool. And then we'll be doing some Q&As from the AI Profit Boarding community as well, and building this into the Agent OS as normal. So let's get straight into this. If you got any questions as we're building, feel free to ask. You set this up in the local engine. Plus test it as well. Make sure it doesn't slow anything down. Evil Eddie, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. Let's go. Here we go. Playing some banging beats from the Hermes music agent. Hermes loves a good rave. And then what I want you to do is put those on Goldie Bench. So run your normal tests, but use Hermes mixture of experts. Tell me which models you're going to use for this. And then also make sure you save inside the workspace as well. Create a guide on it, of course, as well. You set this up inside the SEO section. Have a separate tab for Open SEO. Just grabbing the API key. Chris says, is this a club? It is. It's the AR Profit Boardroom Club. That's what we have going on here. %100% agree. Create a guide on it as well. We're getting the classic. Service was busy. This is crazy. This has been happening all week with Claude. Let's see what we get in a sec. We'll keep going. Sometimes you have to switch your model or whatever as well. Can you set up a new section inside Goldie Bench specifically only for local models? So, for example, right now we're testing Quiphos. We're also testing Ornif, and you've done some tests with North Mini Code as well, right? So anything that you've tested, put inside there. And then also run Ornif in the background and start running through the benchmarks. Yeah, no, it happens all the time. Honestly, if you build a lot with Claude, you'll see that pretty much every single day. Yeah, if you use it a lot, you'll see it for sure. I mean, there's so many, right? So you can use The free models for Hermes, let's list them out here. Last time I checked, you got News Portal, and then with News Portal, you got Step 3.7 Flash, Nematron 3 Ultra, and they add new free models all the time. Now, on OpenRouter, you get a bunch of free APIs that you can use too. And all you need to do is just type in free to see the latest ones. So if we go to OpenRouter here, you can type in free like this. And then you'll see loads of different APIs you can plug in, like North Mini Code, Hermes, NVIDIA, loads like that. Okay, so that's some options. And then you got local as well, right? So you could use LM Studio or you can use Olama. So for example, if you check out North Mini Code, Gemma 4, these are free options that are designed for agentic models. And if you have a really good setup, you can also use locally Qwen 3.6, but it depends on your setup. What else we got here? Yes, you got News Portal, a couple of free models there. OpenRouter, loads of free models. Local, loads of free models. And then if you already have, for example, Minimax coding plan or Kimike 2.7 coding plan or Twitter subscriptions, then you can log in with OAuth into Hermes as well. So that's another option. So those are all your options really for free models on Hermes. I might create a guide on that actually. I think a lot of people would like to know that. Happy to help. Yeah, let's create a free guide on that. Create a guide on the free models you can use with Hermes. You could showcase what you built with it and also talk about these specific ways you can get access to each of these. So how to set them up, etc. You've created guides on all of them recently, so it's easy for you to just collect that and collate it into a nice little guide. Make sure the guide is really comprehensive because you've got so much information on this, you should actually use it. You also got all the frameworks and the diagrams and everything else too. There's some on GitHub, I think. No. It's just super easy, right? You got Whisperflow for talking, you know. So just to recap the question for everyone watching, Samuel says, how are you talking and simultaneously doing so much? So let's have a good setup where I've got a walking treadmill, and then we've got Whisperflow where I can quickly talk with the AI and type out everything that I need to. And then, I mean, the AI does most of the work, right? So it's one of those where you're good to go. OpenClaw versus Hermes. I mean, they're both good options, but the main thing I would say is, like, if you're looking at OpenClaw, it's not as smooth. And if you look at the way things are going, there's more functionality and better options coming out for Hermes, and it seems to always be smooth on every update. Whereas when I used to use OpenClaw a lot, and I really don't use it that much anymore, when I used to use it a lot, it was very unreliable. It would break a lot. It would take a long time to fix. It just got to the point where it's like, okay, just going to use Hermes instead. It's way more reliable. I think they're both good options though. And bear in mind, like, Hermes probably wouldn't be around if OpenClaw didn't exist. So they interlink as well. Wow, look at this. This is pretty cool. Thanks very much. Appreciate that, Jerry. Back in a sec. Yeah, most of the time I go with cloud-based models, honestly, because like from what I've seen, I can't get the same outputs with local. You know, it's not frontier level. I do have systems built into the Agent OS where we can use local models. Probably the best one I've tested out recently was using Ornif. Ornif seems to be the best one. But honestly, like a lot of local models are just kind of like a year behind. So that's the way that I see it. But at the same time, there's a lot of cool people inside the App Profit Boardroom. Let me show you this. Who are creating like local avatar videos and stuff like that with AI. And it's absolutely unbelievable. You can see an example here. Daniel was sharing his setup using local. This is fully local. And he explains the whole system, what he's using, how he's doing it, etc. And that was pretty mind-blowing. Like, even I'd not seen that. So, yeah, there's some interesting ways to do it, for sure. Obsidian Vault. Well, that's our Obsidian Vault right here. So this is what it refers to. So it's our memory system, second brain. So I wouldn't run them all at once. You could use North Mini in the background, I guess. Just don't let it slow anything down. Bear in mind we're using QuickFast at the same time. Bear in mind we're using QuickFast at the same time. So we don't want anything to slow down. If that means you need to wait for QuickFast, no problem. Probably go with Gemma 4 for that. So a few things. Number one, I notice you keep misaligning some of the quotes. For example, you see the attached. We talked about this yesterday, and I told you to update your skill so it's always centered. But it looks like you haven't updated your skill, so make sure you fix that. Also notice that you should be making this guide more visual and beautiful, right? But if you actually look at the page, it doesn't look that nice. And also you should be having a ChatGPT hero image inside there. You've already got the API inside your skill. So just update your skills so you don't forget that, because you should be doing that every single time. Can you improve the design of the page just to make it look more interesting? Anyway, to get what? The Agent OS. Nice. It's just like something we give for free to AR Profit Boardroom members, just to help them really, and to show them some cool stuff. So where's the actual test for this? Wait, you shouldn't be using the API. I would recommend that instead you use local only, right? If we're doing benchmarks for local, you should only be using local, not API for this. Let's see what we got here. How can I create my own Agent OS? You got two options really. Number one, you just describe exactly what you want inside Claude or Hermes, then you can start building out from there. Or number two, you can get our setup from the AR Profit Boardroom. So if you look at this agent operating system that we have, we've already built it out for you. And then we just give it to members inside the AR Profit Boardroom with all the functionality. So if you want my setup inside the AR Profit Boardroom community, link in the comments description, or go to the ARProfitBoardroom.com. And then just go to the classroom and go to new daily updates over here. And you can grab, it's got video tutorial, last update date, and then also all the resources inside there. But if you want to just start building out, just start coding away inside Claude and get it to build out for you. As to Obsidian, to be installed with Claude and use it, but I'm not sure if I'm using it correctly. Well, just check it, right? Just check, is it being used correctly? Is it being updated? When was it last updated? Test Claude, ask it, right? Are you using the memory or not, right? And from there, you can easily tell, okay, is it using Obsidian or not? Is it organizing it or not? If your graph doesn't look not updated like this, or if you see like the memories are old and it's not adding the new stuff, then you know it's not working. Just go back to Claude and describe the problem. Salix says, can you be my mentor? So you can get that inside the AR Profit Boardroom, right? You can direct message me anytime. I answer questions inside the community every single day with video tutorials. You get access to the whole community. So if you need stuff like that, check out the AR Profit Boardroom community. Link in the comments description, or go to the ARProfitBoardroom.com. Is the Agent OS pre-configured? Yeah, it's ready to go. So basically what you have here is a full setup, and then you just install the zip file with your agents, and then it's all ready to go. So for example, if you look at, we've got a lot of members using this, like Hockey said, I've installed the Agent OS, explored it, your system is amazing. Rick said, for example, I joined the school 30 minutes ago and already built the OS. You got, for example, Hobing, who built out his system with paperclip using ours. So, and Amateo as well, he said, I've got my Agent OS file at AR Profit Boardroom. It's amazing, and just really learning everything I can do with it. So, yeah, it's all ready to go. And then it's designed to be as easy to install as possible. We've got 191 pages of testimonials from people absolutely loving it. Thank you. This is a great question. Any suggestions on lead generation? So this is something that we get asked like all the time, to the point where I was like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. So I actually built out a lead generation tool inside Hermes. It kind of feels like a SaaS software. And you can type in, you got a dashboard of like all the leads you've reached out to. If you want to generate leads, you can type exactly what type of leads you want to generate over here. So for example, it could be like SEO agencies that are interested in link building. You type that in, you click find and enrich, and then it generates a list of leads like so with the contact details. And then it gets enriched automatically as well. So you can see inside the notes section here, it's got details on every single lead that we've generated inside the system. Now you can delete any, you can add any to a campaign like so. And then once you've done that, go to campaigns, you can start doing the outreach. And also there's a send box and an inbox for using this as well, right? So that means basically you can automate the lead generation, you can manage everything with Hermes, you can manage the campaign and what you actually send, and then you can manage your inbox and send inbox. And then if you want to change any settings, you can add like a Hunter API key, Firecore API key, etc. inside this section as well. So you get everything you need to win with lead generation. And that is a pretty amazing system that you can use with Hermes Agent directly. Next question. I saw ChatGPT 5 in 5.6 in there, but that has not been released. So is that just branding? Where did you see ChatGPT 5.6? We've not got it inside our system. What we do have though is we have a guide on it that we talked through yesterday on GPT 5.6, which is here, but we run through like, you know, it is gated and you can't get access to it yet, blah, blah, blah. And we already got a full guide on that. But yeah, it's not available for anyone. I think there's only like 20 people that have access to it, 20 companies. So not everyone has access to GPT 5.6. Yeah, there you go. All right, let's see what we're up to with these benchmarks. Talk about some of the workflows and show examples. Pretty clear that the data might not be as good as other tools, but I would just test it yourself and see what you think. Even the best tools don't have the best data, to be honest with you. There you go. Yeah, I think so for now. Like that's a very basic CRM. And then if you're like, right, well, I need to build more functionality into it, or I need to tweak it how you want, you can always use this system and then customize it more. So you can say to Claude or whatever agent you use to set it up, okay, listen, add that or change this or tweak this or whatever you want to customize inside any part of the agent OS you can. And that's the beautiful thing about it, right? Like it's yours to mold and to change and to switch around however you want it. Just a heads up as well, can you make sure that you include a workspace where we can see everything we've created with this tool? Thanks very much. Yeah, I tried to make it as nice as I possibly can, but as simple as we can as well. Bear in mind as well, like anything you see inside here, you can switch off. So if you go to the settings, you can hide anything that you want to. So for example, like we hid the local agent Kanban just because I don't use it that much. So you don't have to use all of it. You can just use a bit so you like. Can you make sure you do all 42 tests? Just reconfirming as well. Can you show with proof that we actually used mixture of agents inside the setup? And also inside the guide, include some comparisons to Claude Opus 4.8. So then people can get feel for, okay, how does it perform versus other models? How does it perform versus Fusion, for example? But I would do that for the more bigger stuff. So for example, like the Dragon Realm game or the Crypt game. Well, I mean, it's probably not relevant because I test everything, right? But if you want to use free models, there's so many different free models or local models or free APIs you can use that you don't need to worry about that. Or you can use your existing CLIs as well. So it's not really relevant what I use because I'm literally testing everything and benchmarking everything. So, but even then, like the amount that we use is not that bad. Not that bad at all. I mean, if we have a look, for example, inside Claude, building this whole system, we're nowhere near our, we came nowhere near to hitting the limit last week, so it's all good. I noticed when you've done this, you've not added any animated workflows, and you should be, right? Also, I'd recommend like putting the tool right at the top just so you can showcase it. Update your skills so you never forget to do animated workflows and diagrams, because that's a big part of explaining how this works. For each example, you should embed the tool and showcase like how it can be used. That way it's really visual, because you don't want to just tell people, you want to show people, right? Update your skills so you never forget this. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I mean, bear in mind, like the avatar helps as well, right? I noticed that the CTA is so basic. Like, it doesn't even have a proper CTA walking through everything that you get with the Agent OS. And it's not really expansive. So just update your skills so you never forget to do this, because right now it's super brief and it should be a lot longer. You should have 2 CTAs throughout the page. Update your skill for guides so you never forget this too. As you complete them, can you add them to the guide, please? Just do one by one horizontally so that we can see each one and preview it, but it's big enough to see. Probably computer use. So sometimes like the AI will use computer use, and that's why you'll see 2 cursors. I'm going with Hermes. Hermes and Claude are right up there. You know, so if I have a choice between Hermes or Codex, I would go with Hermes all day. And then if I had a choice between Claude and Hermes, I would go with Claude all day. But you can use them all together. So for example, you can plug in Codex directly into Hermes, and that way you can get the power of both of them. The other option that you have is you can use Codex inside the Agent OS, and you've got Hermes there as well. So you can use all of them together if you want. I can't see anything inside the guide showcasing what we've actually created. You need to put your tests inside there as a showcase, just like I asked before a second ago. Roughflow is free and open source, yes. You can use it with Claude CLI as well. Back in a sec. Hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Hitting limits like crazy with Claude. Interesting. I've not had that issue at all. It depends what you're doing, I guess, but yeah, so far for me, it's been fine. Welcome here, Jay. Good to see you here again, mate. We're going to run through some AI profit boarding Q&As in a sec. Let's have a cheeky little stretch. Wow. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh, this is great. Wow. This is using Hermes mixture of experts, mixture of agents, sorry. It's pretty wild. Let's have a look at that one. Can you have it more like the workspace with Hermes Workspace instead of the showcase that you've got on the builds page of Mixture? That way it's easier to preview and see everything. No, I can't. You can't use Hermes CLI with Claude at all. Yeah, I saw that too. Claude have increased limits recently. On Goldie Bench, can you make sure that you have the same layout on Hermes Mixture of Agents page as you do on every other page? And then also set up the compare pages and everything else. And then also update the leaderboards too based on what you've done so far. Let's see what else we got here. So we're just testing out Hermes Mixture of Agents here. Do you have the guide as well? Where you up to on the CTA? I noticed that you put the local models like Ornif on the leaderboards, but you probably shouldn't. What I'd recommend instead is that you put those inside a separate local leaderboard because it's not fair to compare local models versus frontier models. So you probably want like a local benchmarking system instead. Nice to catch a decent time. Could see here too. Well, it depends what you're building. Only you know that, right? Only you know how much you use. But for me personally, like Claude is amazing. Again, like if I had a choice between Claude and Hermes, I'm going with Claude every day. What's the difference between Hermes Workspace and desktop as per your use cases? I would recommend that I've done a video on this, but I would recommend that you go with the Agent OS instead out of all of those because you'll get a lot more customization. It'll be a lot more powerful. And there's just so much more you can do with it that you can't with anything else. So you have a problem with, for example, if you're using Hermes desktop or Hermes workspace, you can't use your other agents, right? It's only for Hermes. So, for example, if you want to have teams of agents like Claude and Hermes working together, you can't do that with Hermes workspace or Hermes desktop. If you want to plug in Memory Galaxy or customize it like this, you can't do that with Hermes desktop or Hermes workspace, really, right? So the main point here is like you really want a system where you have everything built in, and then that way you're not reliant on one agent and you're not reliant on one model, and you can switch between them. And I think that's the smartest way to use AI in 2026. All right, let's see where we're up to with QueerFOSS. I think that's still running. Or if it's still running, OpenSEO running. Hermes Mixture of Agents were running. Okay. I'll tell you what we do. We'll do a little community Q&A. So today we're going to be answering the latest questions on our agent operating systems. This is a powerful system that plugs in paperclip, AI agent group chats, idea to implementation pipelines for apps, websites, tools, or landing pages you want to build in one single click. We've also built in some new functionality. So, for example, if you want to generate leads now, you've got the email and lead generation section with Hermes over here. You have Hermes Oracle, where you can pull in the latest news. You've also got Hermes Jarvis that you can use to basically voice control your AI agents. You've got Studio for generating everything here, and a couple of new features that we've added. We might have to start that one again. It's rebuilding the workspace. I can see it working on that right now. We'll come back to this in a sec. Wow. This is awesome. What on earth? The Hermes mixture of agents is pretty wild. This might be a new number one on the benchmarks. It's looking awesome. Yeah, I did. Yeah, yeah. And there's a tutorial on that in the air profit boarding as well. Today, we are going to be running through the agent operating system that I've built, some of the top questions I get on it. I'm going to help you as much as I can on this sort of stuff. And I've built some absolutely amazing stuff into this recently. I want to talk you through exactly how we built all these different, basically, I mean, these are some of the best responses I've ever seen. And this is using a new feature we've just added called Mixture of Agents from Hermes Agent, which is pretty wild. We've also got the Hermes Oracle inside there, so we can pull in the latest trending news and grab it straight away. We've also, for example, got a lead generation system in here for managing our emails, doing outreach campaigns, generating leads in whatever niche we need to. And then we've got things like the Memory Galaxy that gives all of our agents context straight away. We also have a music agent over here. We have a video agent that can generate amazing videos. We've also plugged in open montage, we can generate like basically cinematic AI videos, as you can see. And these are all powerful systems that we've plugged into the agent operating system to automate and build anything that we want. And so what I'm going to do today is just answer some of the top FAQs from the AI Profit Boarding community, because I know if everyone else inside the community is asking questions about these agent operating systems, you probably have the same questions too. So I'm going to get straight into this and talk you through everything that we're using. So, quick one from Lewis. Lewis was asking about like custom agent builds. Do we do that inside the air profit boarding? We actually do. So we have an option for agent requests, and it's just a thread you can post your requests on. There's no limit to that, so you can just post whenever you want. And as long as we don't already have the agent built, then we'll build it for you. If we do already have it, then we'll point it directly to you. Next question from Danish. So Danish was saying, with the agent OS pipeline, the SEO pack, which is down here. This basically allows you to like generate and automate SEO with all the systems we've built in. We've just added open SEO inside there as well, which is pretty cool. So that can do your keyword research for you. It can track. It can do rank tracking for you. All sorts of cool stuff. Right now, if you're wondering, okay, do you need Hermes to use this? Well, basically, you can use anything you want. Whatever API or CLI you prefer to use in this, you can. So you just ask the agent when you set it up to use that particular API or CLI. So for example, if I want to use Claude CLI instead of Hermes for the SEO section, I would just ask the agent that built it to set that up for me instead. So it's really flexible depending on what you need. The cool thing about this is like we can grab keywords from our Google Search Console. We've got a free SEO tool for managing everything here. We can generate content and publish it directly to our websites. And then we can actually get SEO traffic using this system. And it's working really well. Let me show you a couple of examples. So these are some of the websites that we've set up using this system. Here's one, here's another one, and here's one more, right? And you can see the trajectory of all of them. Like they've gone from 0 to hundreds of clicks per day. So it's a really powerful system that's working for us very nice. Now, another question from Danish is how can you feed Obsidian memory to Hermes? So because Hermes is set up locally and so is Obsidian, you can just give the local directory of Obsidian with the documentation about Obsidian from their website directly to Hermes, and then that'll plug it automatically into Hermes for you. And then you can say, okay, every time I use you, please update the Obsidian memory. Or once a day, consolidate all of your memories and plug them into Obsidian as a new daily log. So just give it the local file directory. And then for the section where you say, do I have to specifically say whilst building the article writing function to use Obsidian memory? Yeah, I would if you can. So I would just say, like, listen, every time you create content, personalize it to me and make it unique to me with my unique goals, my unique frameworks, my unique case studies using the data inside the Obsidian memory. That way we can add information gain inside our content so that it's the best it can possibly be and unique to us. Great questions from Danish there. Jay was asking about the agent Kanban and the local engine section. So this is something that we've built in where you could use local systems. So, for example, like this morning, we set up Quifos, which is a new model that you can run locally with your AI agents. You can see examples of it working right here. So, the way that you can fix this is you can just give the details of whatever local model you prefer to use to the agent that set up Agent OS for you and just say, hey, use this model instead, or use that model. Or every time I install a new model, change the default model to that new version. And this way, it's easy to swap and interchange between whichever local models you prefer to use. Another question we got asked was about free Claude Code and Omni Root. Now, this is not something I've tried personally. I've just taken a look at the example GitHub here. I mean, you can use whatever you want. I think there's many different ways to use whatever model you want inside Claude Code. For me personally, we just use the free Claude Code GitHub, but you could swap and replace it with whatever you prefer. So if you find like a GitHub setup that you're like, right, okay, I prefer that setup for free Claude Code, then you can plug it in here. So personally, I've not used it, but feel free to test it. And if you prefer it, you can swap it in and out. The thing I would say here is there's many ways up the mountain. So whichever way you prefer, feel free to customize it as much as you need to. We've got a question here from Momodu about Omi. Now, Omi is what we use to basically update our Obsidian database. So, what this does essentially is it takes notes on me all day. It's like listening to my conversations, it's watching what we're working on, etc. And then we have a bunch of memories that it creates daily. So, for example, if we have a look at memories here, it's literally looked at what I've worked on recently. So, we worked on working on Goldie Bench, an AI model leaderboard, and then it's taking notes on that, right? So it's constantly giving Obsidian more context. And then if we want to export that to Obsidian, we can go to more here and we can easily sync this to Obsidian like so. Pretty simple and easy. And then once we've done that, that's going to be inside our memory. As you can see here, we've got 3,000 memories, and this is all plugged into our agent OS. And the beautiful thing about that is that it's basically an automated system to make sure that your memory and your second brain is automatically updated and organized every single day. Now, if you want like a fully free version of that, that's an alternative. We've actually got a tutorial on this right here, right? Using this GitHub. And this is a free local version of that. So if you want a different way of doing this, I would recommend that. But yeah, you can set this up locally, and that's a good alternative and pretty easy to set up as well. But it basically does the same thing. I just don't use it as much because it's not quite as smooth. So we got a post from a legendary member inside the group, Jay, who's basically saying about how like he's using Claude projects for organizing everything that he does. I think this is quite a nice way to do it. So if you're not familiar with Claude projects, there's a couple of ways you can do this. So number one, you can go to Claude inside here, and then there's a project section. And if I'm sharing this with a team, this is actually how I prefer to do it. So I have like a team set up that my team members can be added to, and then they can get access to all of these different automation projects that we have right here. And also, all has context on me. So, for example, if we go to this section here for the email writer, it's got the previous conversations, it's got custom memory, custom instructions, and then we can add examples of what type of emails we like so that my team can easily automate and create them. But yeah, you can also use it directly inside Claude Code as well. So if you go to co-work, there's a project section here. I don't tend to use that much. I just tend to use the Claude Code section. And then when it comes to building stuff, I will just use the code section here. Also, his tip is that at the end of every session, Claude gives him a daily build report of what was built, what was changed, and what's next. And then it goes straight into the project folder, which is cool. You has just joined as well, and they were saying basically they started with OpenClaw back in January and then moved over to Hermes Agent and Pi and never looked back. This is exactly the same journey I've been on this year where I was using OpenClaw, it kept breaking. I was spending more time fixing it. And so if anyone's watching this and you're thinking, okay, should you use Hermes or should you use OpenClaw? For me personally, I found Hermes a lot smoother. Every update seems to work. And the functionality they're adding now is just absolutely amazing. I'll give you an example. So what they just launched yesterday was something called Hermes mixture of agents. And we've tested this out and it's absolutely amazing. So what you can have is like multiple models working together, as you can see right here. We've got a panel working through OpenRouter with Hermes. Then we can ask the panel to do anything. And you can see some examples of what it created. Like it created a full OS over here. It created this amazing like running games. You can see right here, like pretty awesome stuff that it's generated. And this was super easy to do as well. So we've just added that section inside our agent OS where you can basically use mixture of agents, build anything that you want, and then it stores it inside the workspace here. And we've got a full guide on it on Goldie Bench. So you'll find mixture of agents over here. This is an interesting one. So Neil is trying to use Olama with GLM 5.2 and Claude Code. Let me just check it out now and we'll test it ourselves, see if it's working. So we can run it, as long as we've got Olama running, we can just run this terminal command with Olama launch Claude, model GLM 5.2 cloud. Let's see if that works. Yes, that's working fine for us. So it might just be your setup. I would get Claude to actually go in and fix it for you if you can't get it to work. Also, just make sure you have Olama running in the background and also make sure that you have updated to the latest version of Olama as well. And then if you're still struggling after that, I would recommend that you actually get Claude or Hermes to go in and fix that for you. So that's basically it on the Agent OS and the community questions. We've answered everything today. If you have any questions you want to ask me, just join the AI Profit Boardroom, link in the comments description, or go to the AIProfitBoardroom.com. And then I actually create video tutorials daily answering all the questions inside the community so that You can ask me questions to get help and support whenever you need to. And also, you get access to the whole community with 3,800 people inside there. So you can get help and support 24/7 pretty much. If you're wondering, okay, what do you get inside the Agent OS? So you get mission control. You can plug in Hermes, Claude, whatever CLIs you prefer to use. If there's something you don't use, you can always hide it over here with the settings. And then also you can get all these different systems that we've built in based on members' feedback. So based on what people want to see, we build them in. So for example, like people are asking, like, how do I, ship things quickly? I have shiny object syndrome, whatever. So we created this system where you can drop an idea, create it, and then you can literally go from like idea to build with your AI agents automatically, and you can see everything that you've created and store it in one place, which is awesome. You can also see, for example, we've got Claude, we've got Ultra Code built in there as well. So you can use Ultra Code whenever you need to if you prefer to have swarms of agents working together. We've got Hermes Agent where you can chat with it, you can talk with it, you get a voice activated version of it inside this section, and you can see the full conversation. Plus, you got all of the stuff that you built with this as well, which is pretty cool. Over here, we have Hermes Oracle, which pulls in the latest news, and this automatically refreshes every day, every 24 hours, so that you get the latest news pulled in. We have a studio where you can generate videos, images, and voice, an outreach system for lead generation and emails, and the mixture of agent system that literally just came out like 24 hours ago. We've already built it in. And then if you want to add MCPs or see what you've built, etc., that's inside this section right here as well. And then we've got like all these different CLIs. So if GLM 5.2 comes out, well, we already plugged it into the system like ASAP, and we can see everything that we've built. When, for example, like Fusion came out, we plugged that straight into the system so we can get like Fable 5 level intelligence. We've got a local engine here, which we've just tested with Quifos 9B, which is pretty cool. And then we've got Sakana Fugu as well, which is a Japanese AI on benchmarks, achieves similar levels to Fable 5 as well. And then we have all of these different automations and workflows based on anything that you want to automate here. So whatever you want to build, even for example, like if you want to create films, well, we've got open montage here with AI animations, and the quality of this stuff is just wild, like insanely good. So this is all inside the AI Profit Warning. Link in the comments description, or go to the appofferborn.com. Inside the classroom, you can get access to the Agent OS over here. And we update this daily with video tutorials, plus you can get the zip file for installing it. We have new daily guides on everything that drops is actually useful. So for example, if you're interested in mixture of agents, we've got a full setup right there. Inside the community, you can ask questions, and I personally answer them every single day. And so does the whole community. You can see, for example, there's 90 people online right now. So there's always people online ready to help you. It's a very active community. Inside the classroom, you can get access to all of my new best trainings. Inside the calendar, you can jump on weekly coaching calls, get help and support in real time, share your screen, ask questions, meet the community. And then inside the map, you can actually meet people in your local area who are building with agents or building with the Agent OS and that sort of thing. You might also say, okay, well, doesn't this take up a lot of tokens to use this sort of stuff? For example, if you want to use the Agent OS, and the answer is no, because you can use free APIs if you're worried about that. You can also use the CLIs you already have. And then additionally, you can also use free local models as well. So there's 3 free ways to use this for free. And then also, you might be thinking, okay, this sounds technical, it might be difficult to set up, etc. We've had so many members set this up and get awesome results that I know this works for everyone. Right? So, for example, Hockey, he installed the Agent OS. He said the system is amazing. Rick, he set it up in like 30 minutes. Gil, absolutely loving the weekly coaching. Hobing just set up Paperclip inside his Agent OS. Raza said we're one of the best trainers out there for AI. So, if you want to win with AI, feel free to join us inside the AI Profit Warning. Thanks for watching. The question here: what is a benchmark, and what do you mean by number one on the benchmarks? And so, a benchmark is a way of testing a model to see if it's actually good or not. And so, we rank all the models and we test them out and we see which one performs the best. And then, based on that, we take a look and we're like, okay, this one is the best, or that one is the best, whatever. Okay? And so, it's just a way of comparing different models based on testing and seeing what performs the best. How did you get Quen? You can just get the local model. It's pretty chill. So today I'm going to show you how I built my own SEO tool essentially using Open SEO. And this is a free open source project. We've already plugged it into the Agent OS inside that SEO section. And this looks really cool. So what we can do here essentially is we have our own open source tool. And for example, if we want to automate keyword research, we can easily do that over here. So for example, we type in Hermes agent, we can change the country, we can change how many results we get back, whether we want it to be auto related suggestions or ideas, and then we hit search. And this is literally like a fully customized tool that we have ready to go. So if we check out the search trends here, it shows us the search volume. We've got all the different keywords that we can plug in. We can actually click on those and then save the keyword, as you can see right here. So we can save that inside our system or export it to Sheets or CSV. Kind of feels like Ahrefs a little bit. And then we've got the SERP analysis over here, right? So what this means essentially is like we can quickly find new keywords relevant to our industry. We've got the details of the volume, the competitiveness, the score, what type of search intent actually is, which is great for SEO. We can filter all of these keywords, and this is all driven with AI. We plugged in a API called Data for SEO into this, and then from there, you don't need to subscribe to an SEO tool. You've got this ready to go. If you have a look at the SERP analysis as well, it shows us all the results for that particular topic, which is great. And then we can actually switch here between keywords, save keywords, and we've got a rank tracking option here. So what we can actually do is we can plug in our domain like so, set up the country, whether we want it to be like desktop and mobile, or just mobile or desktop, how often it updates, and we can create our own like SEO audit tool over here whenever we need to, which is pretty cool. And then it pulls in the number of keywords we want to track. As you can see, you can save those keywords and it will automatically track each of the keywords for you. Now, if we go to domain overview, what we can do over here is we can check a domain. So for example, we could plug in like juliangolder.com, search by traffic or rank or volume or score, hit search, and then we can actually analyze the domain itself, which is pretty cool. So it shows us all the keywords that a competitor would be ranking for, where their pages are getting traffic, what sort of keywords are ranking for, what position they're in, the amount of volume of traffic they're getting, the score as well overall. So that's really good for analyzing your own domain and also analyzing competitors. So this is a fully AI powered system. And the cool thing about this is we can just plug it into our agent OS. So if you have an agent operating system where, for example, like maybe Claude or Hermes or Anti-Gravity all live, well, the great thing about that is you can go back to your Open SEO section here and you can see all of your history. Right, it's all saved over here. We have the domain. We can also check for backlinks too. So we can analyze a website, enable backlink data here. We have AI visibility, so we have like an AI rank tracker inside the system too. And then we can also pull in MCPs here. So for example, we could have an MCP with Claude and add the CLI for Claude Code, which is pretty cool, or Claude Desktop or Codex, whatever you want this to run with as well directly. We've also got a bunch of skills that we can add into Codex and Claude for reusable SEO workflows. So for example, like researching keywords, getting tracking positions, getting keyword metrics, etc. This is super powerful. Now, if you wonder where does this come from, this is the open source setup. So you can see it's called Open SEO on GitHub. It's free, pretty powerful system. It's kind of, I mean, if you look at this, it's like, okay, you can do link prospecting, you do competitor analysis, you can do keyword clustering, keyword research. You've even got an SEO coach built in there and an SEO project set up as well. So there's a lot of agentic SEO skills built into this. But the difference here is like, it's not just, for example, like going into Claude and saying, hey, give me some keywords. This is a system, it's a tool. It feels like a SaaS software almost when you're using this. And also it's got rank tracking, which would take ages to set up manually if you're trying to figure out that yourself. And also the cool thing about all of this is you just plug in your API key and then you can go from there. You can also add and manage projects. So you can have multiple different projects for different websites or clients you're working with. And then the cool thing about this is as well, it can link straight to our SEO workflows that I've already plugged into the agent operating system. So for example, we have a look at Hermes agent and we see, okay, what are people ranking for in that particular niche and what sort of keywords could we go for? So if we scroll down here, let's see what we got. Yeah, this is a good one, right? So you can see this keyword right here. So what we can do with that keyword is then we can go to our generate tab, which is something I've custom built inside the agent operating system. And we can take that particular topic, we can get a case study for it, or we can pick an existing topic and case study, for example, like this one. And then we can, from there, click on generate 5 articles. And based on the keyword research we've automated with Open SEO, we can then start generating the content, plug that into our systems, and start ranking with it and deploying that automatically. And this is great because it's just like one click SEO, right? I don't need to log into WordPress, super easy and simple. It's all plugged into one system and it's all organized inside one place. Can you imagine, for example, if you're going over to Claude and then you're going over to Ahrefs to get the data, and then you're going over to Search Console to check your rankings, and then after that, you're going into WordPress itself to start posting the content. Like very, very messy, a lot, very energy draining, a lot of like logging in, logging out, and clicking buttons. Or you could just fully automate it with this system, as you can see right here. And I think that's a much more powerful way to use this whole system. And then we can see the history of everything that was deployed, all the content that we've created over here, and how easy and simple is that. Right? And if you're wondering, okay, like, does this actually work? Let me show you an example. So if we go to some of the pages, some of the websites we're working on right now, like these, you can see our traffic over here, right? It's on a really nice trajectory since we've started using systems like this. So I think the more you can systemize SEO, the better it's going to be. Obviously, you have to quality control this stuff, which is why we've got a 13-step skill inside the agent operating system for SEO to quality control it step by step. But SEO has never been easier and it's never been more fun. And you can easily plug in systems like this and then start ranking with them. So that's the system that we're setting up. Also, what I want to show you here is some examples. So, for example, I could actually plug that into a website that we're building here. We can then create like a free audit tool for people who join the website. And that's a pretty powerful lead generation method using the systems from OpenSEO. We could, for example, use this to generate more leads, to drive more traffic, and to build a website around this too. So that's some examples of what we're building here. Here's another example. So this is a full guide I've created on OpenSEO and how to use it. And the way this works is like OpenSEO is a free open source self-hosted SEO research tool. And then we've wired it straight into the Agent OS with its own tab, keyword research, rank tracking, and backlink setup as well. And then the point here is like instead of having a monthly subscription and not being able to customize your SEO tools, you can customize this as much as you want, and then you just use something like the data for SEO API, and you change that about as much as you want. So, for example, you could use this for keyword research. Here's an example. And then you get the keyword, the volume and score, the SERP analysis. You can automate the content and you get better rankings for that. So how could you use this? Well, for example, you could use this for finding the easy wins when it comes to SEO with the keyword research tool. You could check the SERPs before you write with the automation and just quickly check, okay, what's already ranking on the first page of Google? And then how can we reverse engineer that to make sure our content is better? We can also use this to size up our competitors. So with the domain view, you can drop in a rival site, see if the keywords they're ranking for, target the ones they're winning that you're not yet, and you can enter any domain into the panel to start running it. Additionally, you can track what matters. So you've got the rank tracking section here. So you can track the keywords you actually want to rank for and where you're up to on that. And then additionally, you've got your AI visibility. So this setup means that you can do a brand lookup and you can see how your brand shows up across AI answers. So obviously ChatGPT, Google AI overviews, this is the new surface that most tools ignore, but where a lot of traffic is quietly moving. And you can set that up inside the AI visibility section. And then finally, we can pipe it into our agents. So you've got the prompt explorer and the MCP server. So your agents can actually pull this data in automatically just by setting up an MCP. So you could, for example, give the MCP to Claude or to Hermes, and then they can pull in that data and you can automate SEO with them directly. So pretty powerful stuff. And then we've got the SEO pipeline that we custom built as well. So we can take the data from OpenSEO, plug it into the SEO pipeline, deploy it across our websites. And if you go back to the websites we were looking at a second ago, these ones over here, let's check out the history section, the content that we just created a minute ago, so you can see 4 minutes ago, that is still running in the background, and all of these articles will be written and automated whilst I'm talking to you. So you might say as well, like, doesn't this use up a lot of tokens? Well, you can use free APIs for this, and then for data for SEO, it's a lot cheaper than like your normal sort of SEO tools. Also, you might say, well, self-help hosting is too technical for me, but it's just like one Docker command, and then it's already inside the agent OS. You might also say, well, free tools probably give worse data, but usually it's the same data big tools are using anyway, if that makes sense. So that's the whole setup. Now, if you want my entire agent OS done for you, OpenSEO is just one tab. The real prize is the operating system it lives inside, the one I run my whole business on. So you can join the Air Profit Board and get all of it ready to set up and run. So you get the Open SEO and SEO pipeline, the local Hermes engine, agent Kanban for a team of SEO agents working for you, the Claude workspace with everything saved, every top CLI plugged in, free local models, the AI mastermind where you can have a group chat with all your agents. You got the memory galaxy that already knows your business and all your agents have context. Plus, if you're writing SEO content, this can pull in the context from your memory so that you get the best answers and the most unique content possible. And then also we've got token efficiency playbooks inside the AI Profit Boardroom if you're worried about using up tokens, and you can connect with me plus the whole community. So feel free to get that link in the comments description, or just go to the AIProfitBoardroom.com. And inside the community, you can get help and support. I personally answer the questions inside here today. There's a lot of SEOs inside there that are actively like posting about cool stuff they built with this. Inside the community classroom, you can actually see there's a full section on AI SEO. And if you want to get the Agent OS along with new daily updates, we have that inside this section. So you can get the Agent OS with the last update date, a video tutorial, and the zip file to download. And we update this daily. Plus, you get new video tutorials based on what's actually useful and working. Inside the calendar, you can jump on weekly coaching calls, get help and support in real time, ask questions, meet the community. Inside the map, you can meet people locally in your area who are using AI agents. That's all available inside the AI Profit Boardroom. Link in the comments description, or just go to the AIProfitBoardroom.com. Back in a sec. Enough of that. All right, let's get this party started. Today, I'm going to talk about some of the best free models that you can use directly with Hermes. And we're going to talk about four different ways that you can use Hermes Agent for free. And I'm going to rate them and talk about, which ones are the best and how to use them and how to get the most out of this. So let's get straight into this. The first method that you can use is News Portal. So, for example, recently, Step 3.7 Flash and Nematron both came out for free with Hermes Agent. Now, if you're wondering how to use these with Hermes Agent and News Portal, what you can do here is you can go inside your terminal and then you can select Hermes model. And from there, you select News Portal. And if you're on the free plan, you'll see a list of models as you can see right here, right? So you can see between all the models that are available and which ones are available, right? And quite often they bring out free models. So for example, recently Step 3.7 Flash was actually free. And Nematron 3 Ultra was also free. So just watch out for those. You can also compare the prices as well. So if you want to get just a cheap model instead of a free one, you can go with that option. Now, the next option that you have is that you can use Open Router. Right now, if you want to change the model inside Hermes to Open Router, you can just type in Hermes model again, and then you switch to Open Router. Now, you would just plug in your API key. Once you've done that, you can select between the models as you can see. Now, also, one thing to note here is that you can enter a custom model name. And if you go over to Open Router directly, if you type in free inside here, you can see there's a bunch of free models. So, for example, Hermes 3 405E Instruct is free. North Mini Code is free. Llama Nemtron is free as well. So you can switch between these models, choose whichever ones you want. There's also a free models router on OpenRouter as well. And so you can use the API from OpenRouter. Now, if you're wondering how do you get the API key, if you just go to your home section here, so click on the settings and then home. From there, go to API keys, and you can just grab an API key for free from OpenRouter and then plug that inside your terminal to start using it for free. Right? And either way, whichever model you use, there are ways to basically never have to pay for Hermes ever again. What we actually do to organize this, and I'll tell you halfway through, as we're getting into this. We've covered two methods already, which is News Portal and OpenRouter. If I was choosing one free model, by the way, of OpenRouter, I'd probably go with Gemma 4 or Owl Alpha. But there's loads of different options you can try, and you can test them out for yourself and see which one you prefer the most. So what we have inside our agent operating system, as you can see right here, is that we have separate profiles for each of the APIs that we plug into each of these models. So the cool thing about this is, for example, if we're using North Mini and the free API from North Mini, well, we can have a separate agent profile just for North Mini. We can plug in the free API into that, and then if I'm like, right, I just want to use Hermes quickly for free, I can just go straight inside here. The same, for example, if we go to our local model setups, like for example, ORNIF. ORNIF is another free local model that just dropped this week. It's a self-improving model. And then you can use a self-improving local model with a self-improving agent, which is Hermes, and you can use that for free as well. So just proving, number one, this works, and number two, you can actually organize these into free profiles and then switch between the ones that you like the most. Now, speaking of local models, you might be wondering, okay, how do you plug local models into Hermes? So there's a couple of options for this. Method number one is you can go to Olama, download Olama. Once you've done that, you can then go into any of these models. So for example, if we look at ORNIF, which I was just talking about a second ago, we can then go straight inside here, and we just need to run Olama run ORNIF. So make sure you have Olama open and installed. Make sure you have it updated. And then from there, you can copy this command, go inside your terminal, and just pull the model in. So you'd start a new command and just run that model. Once you've done that, then you're going to go to Hermes model over here. And from there, you can scroll to Olama, which we've got over here, and we can select our options. The other option that you have as well with this is you can use LM Studio. So you can use LM Studio as a provider. And the cool thing about that is if you're using LM Studio, you can actually see which models are best for your local setup. And it will give you a grade in terms of which models are too big and which models you can actually run on your local setup. So if we go to LM Studio, which is free to download here, and then we click on the model section, we can scroll through and we can see which ones would actually work. So you see how it says likely too large on this particular local model. We can just keep scrolling through, finding local models and find ones that are actually not too big for our setup. And that's how you can run local models. And then to set it up with Hermes, you can go inside Hermes model and just change the model to LM Studio or Olama. Now, if you're wondering, okay, how do you create the profiles? Like, how do you have separate profiles so you can come back to like this? So if you go to your dashboard for Hermes Agent, then go to profiles here. You can create a new profile for every agent that you want to use. Another little tip here as well is you can use something called blank slate. Now, blank slate is a way of setting up Hermes with like no existing tools. So for example, if you're using free APIs and you want to limit the number of tokens you use, because obviously free plans are quite often limited with the number of tokens, then you can use a blank slate setup with Hermes agent. And that way you don't use any too many tokens every time you use it. So if you go to create here, you can just call it, okay, free local. And then just from the model section here, you can just choose the model that you want to use. So for example, you could use Olama Gemma 4 and run that for free, which is pretty cool. And then I have them organized inside my agent OS, so I can just see all the profiles I've created, flick between them, and easily come back to them whenever we've created them. So just to recap here, we've talked about News Portal and the free models that occasionally go on there. We've talked about OpenRouter and the free APIs in there. Honestly, I think out of all of these, probably OpenRouter is the easiest. So if you have a choice, I'd probably go with OpenRouter first, then local, and then News Portal. And then the final method is OAuth. So if you're wondering, okay, how do you use OAuth for free? So if you already have like a ChatGPT subscription, for example, you can use that directly with Hermes Agent without paying anything extra. So for example, if we go inside the terminal here and we go to Hermes model, we can then select from the list, and you just press down to switch between the list here. And you just go to OpenAI Codex, use existing credentials, or you can re-authenticate with a new OAuth. But basically, that means that we can select between the models. So we can use GPT 5.5, and now that's selected as our default model with Hermes agent as well, right? And so that is method number 4. The same, for example, if you're already subscribed to Twitter, you can use Grok OAuth. And then with Grok OAuth on Hermes, you can generate, for example, images or videos or voice or whatever you want, right? Using the combination of Grok and the OAuth login with Hermes Agent. So that's 4 different ways that you can use Hermes Agent for free, which is pretty cool. And that way you don't need to worry about tokens. You can also install stuff like, for example, Headroom. Headroom is a way to reduce the amount of tokens you use with, for example, like Codex. And also, you can use blank slate with Hermes Agent to set up a system where you don't use too many tokens because you haven't installed too many tools to your individual Hermes Agent. And so if you look at the old ways, like, you have to pay for APIs, you have to worry about which model you use, then you use a model and you're kind of locked to one vendor. And also your private data goes to someone else's cloud. Also, if you're using API and you're paying per API usage with Hermes, sometimes the token usage can get out of control. With this system, you can use like $0 per token on free and local models. You can loop all day if you want. You can build stuff all day, especially with local models. Your data stays private. You can swap the models based on the job, and you can reuse the plans you already have. For example, like ChatGPT or off. So that's the whole system here. That's how to use it. That's how to run Hermes Agent for free. Works pretty nicely. If you want all of these free options wired into the agent operating system that we've set up, you don't need to set this all up by hand. Inside the agent operating system in the AI Profit Boardroom, we have Hermes and all of our agents plugged in so that you get Hermes, our local engine, 4 coaching calls a week, 3,800 members as well. And also with Hermes Agent, we've built a lot of custom stuff that's really cool. So, for example, we've got the chat section here where we can switch between profiles. We've got the talk section where we can talk to Hermes Agent directly. We've got a voice activated version of Hermes over here, and we can see our conversation history and everything that we've built with it. And then we also have Hermes Oracle, which pulls in the latest news, and we can create content around that directly here. So this pulls in the latest trending news every 24 hours. We have the studio for generating images, videos, and voice. We have the Kanban board as well to orchestrate teams of agents. And we just set up very recently mixture of agents, which is a way to achieve like Fable 5 level intelligence with Hermes Agent and a combination of different models inside Hermes Agent. And the outputs look really amazing. So feel free to get that link in the comments description or just go to the arprofitable.com. Inside the community, this is my community focused on helping you save time and scale with AI automation. Inside the community, you can ask questions, get help and support daily. I answer your questions with video tutorials. You get access to all of my best new training. So if you're a complete beginner, you can go from beginner to expert over here. If you want to get the Agent OS system with Hermes plugged in, you can get that over here. We've got the last updates. So we update this daily. You get the zip file, full guide, and a video tutorial on how to set up. We've got new daily tutorials. So, for example, the mixture of expert setup that we just used, we've got a full guide on how to use it in a 30-day roadmap right here. And then inside the calendar, you can jump on weekly coaching calls, share your screen, ask questions in real time. And inside the map, you can meet people in your local area who are building with AI agents like Hermes. So feel free to get that link in the comments description or just go to the aiprofitable.com. That is 4 free ways to never pay for Hermes again and use it for free. Thanks for watching. By the way, if you're watching this and you have any questions or anything like that, like feel free to ask. That's what I'm here for. Happy to help you. For Paperclip, it's for orchestrating teams of agents as a company. So if you look at the way that you usually use AI agents, you use them inside the chat or you get them to build something, but you have no way to orchestrate like multiple different agents working together and to really organize what they do. So with the Paperclip system that we have inside the Agent OS, we have a team of agents working together. We can see what they're building. We can get them building 24/7. We can actually see everything that they've created in one single place with the live builds. And they created all this for us. We don't create any of this stuff. And then they actually message us inside the inbox. And then we can see everything that they've built as well. Right. So it's a way to basically create like a zero human company. That's what we're looking at here. Whereas, for example, if you have like a group chat with agents, it's cool for coming up with ideas, but it's not that organized, right? If you have a pipeline here for generating ideas, that's great, but how do you know what the organization structure is? How do you see where the agents are? And so that's the problem that Paperclip solves, is that it creates a team of agents working together with an actual hierarchical structure. Isn't that what a few of the other pages do already? I would say, show me one other page where you've got an organization structured like this. I don't know of any other system that has like an org chart of AI agents working together or like a setup where the agents can inbox you proactively. So it's just Breachmind. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't read. I mean, I've seen his stuff. His content is really good, but I've not seen the systems that he set up. But I know he's working on like a agent like that, right? So Hermes just released Hermes Mixture of Agents, which is a powerful way to basically have a council of agents working together to get better outputs. And this is obviously based on like the restrictions with GPT 5.6, Fable 5 being taken down. It's like, okay, how can we achieve better levels of intelligence using systems where agents work together and then you fuse the ideas to get the best possible outputs? And from what I've tested so far, this is a really powerful system, and I'm going to show you exactly what we've built with it, how it works, etc., how to use it, and also how it performs on Goldie Bench versus everything else. So let's test this out and see how it works. Now, if you're wondering, okay, how does this whole system work together? So basically, I call this the Hermes Council engine. So you have a panel of frontier models merged by a chair. And I actually put it through my whole 42 task leaderboard. So I've tested it with 42 tasks. You can check them out on Goldie Bench, as you can see right here for Hermes Mixture of Agents. And it actually ranked number 2 on the entire board, pretty much above every single model out there. The only one that's beaten it right now is Fusion. And also Opus 4.8 was outperformed by a long way. And I'll show you the comparisons in a second. So if you're wondering how does it perform on the benchmarks, it's doing pretty well. And I'll show you the examples in a minute. Now, if you look at the quote from news research on this who created Hermes Agent, they said Hermes Agent now exposes mixture of agent presets as virtual models, capabilities beyond the publicly available frontier. So if you're wondering, okay, what is this? Well, basically, what we've done is we set up a council engine, which is a new tab built inside Hermes Agent, inside my agent operating system. This is the setup right here. And so it's a new tab we built inside the agent operating system. And basically, you can pick a few frontier models, as you can see right here. Any providers mixed together. I'm running Opus 4.8 and GPT 5.5. And then when you ask a question, both models answer it privately at the same time. Then a third model, the chair, reads both answers, judges them, and writes one final answer that's better than either. And we can see the actual outputs here in terms of the stuff created. So the panel of models is the council, the chair is the aggregator. You have one question that you put in and one better answer out. So News Research shipped this idea as a mixture of agents. I wired it into a tab, gave it a workspace, and put my own leaderboard on it to see if it actually holds up in terms of performance. And basically, the way this works is like a panel of experts would beat one genius. So if you picture one brilliant person answering a hard question alone, or if you now picture a panel, each expert writes her own take privately. A sharp chair reads all of them and gives you the best combined answer. So the panel would win pretty much almost every single time. So you have one prompt, Opus 4.8, for example, and GPT 5.5 work together, and then you get a chair that works and builds it and fuses it all together. Now, in terms of the performance, you might be wondering, okay, how does this hold up? So if we have a look at Hermes mixture of agents here, on the leaderboard, it's coming at number 2, just below Fusion. And if we pull up the answers here, you can just test yourself out yourself, right? So if you're thinking, this is not that good or it doesn't look that great, etc., just have a look on this website and see what you think for yourself, right? You can make your own mind up or you can test it yourself. That's really why I created the Goldie Bench, is because we wanted to test all of these models on example prompts rather than just listen to some theoretical benchmark in a lab somewhere about uh, an AI model we can't even use yet. So that's why we created this system. And you can see here, for example, the stuff we've created is super nice. Like, looks pretty cool. It's very visual. We've tested out on loads of different stuff. So, for example, like this is called the Dragon Realm, which is an open source project, as you can see, which is pretty cool. It looks super nice. The outputs are super nice, and I'll show you how that compares against, like, for example, Opus 4.8 in a second, and also Fusion in terms of the outputs. But it looks really cool. And pretty much everything that we built works really nicely straight out of the box as well. Here's another example. So this is basically like a 3D version of Skyrim, like an open world game, and you can see like it looks absolutely amazing. For something that's just like one shot, you give it one prompt, you get two answers fused out. It looks absolutely great. So we tested it on loads of different benchmarks, as you can see right here, performed very well on pretty much all the tests. And if we compare it versus, for example, Fusion, let's see what we got back. So we can see head to head how they perform side by side. So for example, this is the output from Fusion, which looks pretty cool. This is the output from Hermes. So it's more like 2D, but it still looks super nice. This is a game called the Dragon Realm. This is the outputs from Fusion, which again is number one on the leaderboards. And if we compare that versus Hermes Agent, in some ways this actually looks nicer, but they've both creating like great outputs. Now, if you're wondering, okay, how does that compare versus something like Claude Opus 4.8? Let's have a look here side by side. So Claude Opus 4.8 versus Hermes Mixture of Agents. So this is the dragon game we created with Hermes Mixture of Agents. Looks super cool. This is the one from Opus 4.8. This is the output from Opus 4.8 on like a neon city simulation. Here's the one from Hermes. And this one actually looks nicer, I would say. And it's a bit more like you can actually move around with it. It feels less linear, if that makes sense. And here's a racing game side by side. So this one is from Hermes. Pretty cool, pretty nice to navigate. This is the one from Opus 4.8, which just feels like a little bit buggy. See how it's kind of sideways when you're using it? Doesn't quite make sense. And also the graphics in the background don't look quite as good. This is a 3D racer. So this is this is with Opus 4.8. Is pretty much broken. Doesn't quite work as well. This is with Hermes Agent using a combination of ChatGPT and Opus 4.8 together. Right? Much better outputs. Way less buggy, more fun to play, more useful, etc. So overall, like it's performing really well. I actually created this benchmark after Fable 5 came out, so I can't tell you whether it's better than Fable 5, but as soon as that gets restored, we'll test it out. Same with GPT 5.6. And right now, at the top of the leaderboards, Fusion and Mixture of Agents are the two best features I've seen to create the best quality outputs. And you can test it for yourself. Like all the stuff that I've created with this is just hosted on that website directly. Now, the thing that I would say about all of this, whether you're using Hermes Agent, whether you're using, for example, Claude, whether you're waiting for Fable 5 to come back, is like stop chasing the model, build the system, right? Everyone is waiting on the next model, the next Opus, the next GPT. But if you look at what just happened on the benchmarks, a mix of today's models already beats everything else, right? So you don't need a new release. You don't need to worry about gated access with this. You can just use a smarter way based on what's already out there. And the model is a part you can swap. The system is the thing that you own. And the timing makes this huge, right? You got Fable 5 in preview, you got GPT 5.6 delays, you got the next frontier models that are not actually available right now to the public. And so the winning move is not waiting, it's squeezing more out of the models you already have by combining them. So for example, if you check out the Agent OS system that we have over here, we have the mixture set up right here. And this is so much better than using the terminal because you can see everything that you've created inside the workspace. You can switch the models based on what you want to use. You can then ask the panel anything and run the panel whenever you want, right? So you just click run the panel like so. It's the same, for example, if you're using Fusion, which is a very similar process, you can use it exactly the same way. So you can chat with over here and then see everything that you've built on the side panel here. And the same, for example, Sakana Fugu, another alternative from Japan that does a similar sort of thing. Didn't quite perform as well as Hermes Mixture of Agents, but this is a similar sort of process where you can compare them side by side, you can build stuff, you can chat with it, and then you can get the workspace over here. Right? So however you want to use these models, whichever system you use, you can build them all in to a process like this. And then if we want to achieve like better levels of intelligence from the models we already have access to, this is how you do it. And it's super simple and easy with a system like the Agent OS. And all these models are swappable parts, right? You want to think of those as interchangeable, but really it's a system that stays. Because, for example, these models over here are going to change in 3 to 6 months anyway, or even next month or next week. But the actual engine you use to run all this, that's going to stay the same. Now, if you want to get my agent operating system with the Council engine built in, the Council engine lives inside the agent operating system I built. The same stack, the boardroom runs every single day. So you get the full agent operating system, Hermes, Claude, OpenClaw wired into one dashboard with shared memory. You get the mixture tab with your own model Council plus Fusion and Sakana panels. You get weekly coaching calls, daily tutorials, and a 30-day roadmap to set it all up, and token optimization tutorials so it runs cheap as well. So if you need to run this on cheap or free models, you can as well. So if you look at the system as well, like if you're using, for example, mixture of agents, the great thing about this is, for everyone else, like the other 99% who's messing around chasing models, the problem with that is like they're always behind. They pick one model and hope it's the best one. They hit that model ceiling and stop there. They wait months for the next release. They beg for access to the gated frontier models. And the APIs, when they do get released for this stuff, is super expensive. With this system that I'm showing you, you get the best models today. You mix several models into a virtual council. You beat every single model on its own. You don't need to wait for anything. You can just squeeze from what's already here. You go beyond the public frontier without any extra access needed. And you can swap everything in when a cheaper or better model lands, right? You can switch and change and chop this up however you want. Now, some people say, the best model wins. I just need to pick the right one. But actually, the two best things on my whole leaderboard are systems. So if you look at Goldie Bench and you look at the top two performing models, Fusion and Hermes mixture of agents, they're both panels. They're not individual models, they're systems. And that's what seems to give everyone the edge. It's not about the models you use, it's about the systems you create. Other people say, well, stacking models, that's lab stuff only, too complex for me. But actually, if you've just got a simple system like this where you can type anything you want and it's just one click away, that's way easier than, for example, having Claude in one tab, ChatGPT in another, blah, blah, blah. Also, some people say, well, I'll wait for GPT 5.16 or I'll wait for Fable 5, but none of those have a confirmed release date. We don't know if they're coming out, if they're coming out at all. It might be a case that frontier technology in the future doesn't come out to the public, that nobody gets access to anything that's the latest stuff anymore. We might get access to only models that are 1 year old, for example. That might be the future that we're living in. So you just have to bear that in mind as well. And you might be saying as well, this might be technical to set up, but you can see so many tutorials and so many wins and testimonies. We've got 191 pages of wins and testimonies from people using our agent operating system from the Profit Boardroom. So I know, like, if I can do it and I'm non-technical and all of these people can do it as well, then I know that we can all win and learn together, right? People are getting amazing stuff with this. So overall, what have you learned? You've learned that Hermes mixture of agents is really, really good. You've also learned how to stop guessing. You've got proof. I've shown you the proof. And if you want to check it out for yourself, it's on Goldie Bench. I've shown you side-by-side comparisons versus Opus. And I've also shown you side-by-side comparisons versus Fusion as well. And we've also learned today that it's not about the model. I don't think you need to care about the model anymore. I think what you need to do is just get great systems. And bear in mind, like most things that you want to automate, like for example, we have a system where we can automate videos and it plugs in the avatar, it does the research, creates a script, it creates a voiceover and plugs it all together. This whole system doesn't need a frontier model. We don't need GPT 5.16 to run this, but it creates better outputs than 99% of people. The same with our SEO deployment systems. Like we can easily automate keyword research from our Google Search Console or from Open SEO. We can generate the content, deploy it to our website. We don't need frontier models for that. So I think like most things that you're working on don't actually need the best models. They just need the best systems. And that's what you get inside the Agent OS. Now, if you want to get that from me, link in the comments description or just go to the AIprofitboardroom.com. And inside the community, you can ask questions. I personally answer all of the questions inside here every single day with a video tutorial. Inside the classroom, you can get access to all of my best trainings with new daily updates. We've got a beginner to expert course over here if you're new to this. And we also have a new daily update section here. So you can get the Agent OS system here with video tutorial, the last update date, a zip file to install it. And also we add new tutorials. So if you want to learn more about how to use mixture of agents exactly with a step-by-step roadmap and all the terminal commands and everything else, you can get that right here. We also got new tutorials on Claude web design and everything else that comes out. You can also jump on weekly coaching calls, meet people in your local area who are using Hermes and other agents like this. And that's all inside the AI Profit Boardroom. Thanks for watching. Thanks so much. I really appreciate that, by the way. That's super kind. We'll keep that pinned. That's a nice one. Appreciate it. Thank you. Digital insanity. There we go. Hello, Azur. Welcome here. I don't have the option to extend it for specific people. It depends what you're trying to set up, but you can use the existing CLIs you have, or you can use free APIs. So for example, if you're trying to set up Claude inside the Agent OS, then you can ask Claude to set up the Claude CLI inside Agent OS. Or if you wanted to use free models, you could use the local section and plug in free models that you have. Depends on the feature though. So for example, like Hermes Jarvis would use ChatGPT real-time API. Still rocking, there we go. Hey Jason, if you're struggling with that, I would recommend that instead you just simplify and go with one thing. But when you get used to it, you can always switch. If you have any errors though setting it up, like feel free to send me a screenshot and I can take a look, or ask the agent that built it for you. That's fantastic. Feel free to share any screenshots or the prompts as well inside the community. Would love to see it. That way I just show the work I'm already doing and it doesn't take up any extra energy because I have to do that stuff anyway. Okay, let me know how it goes. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Who we got here? Amri from South Africa. Welcome here. And welcome from India too. Thanks for joining. Just building out some cool stuff with local agents using Claude. $8,000 steps. Not too bad. Not too bad today. Hopefully we'll crank that up later. So today we're going to be looking at Quifos 9B, which is a new local model. As you can see right here, it's come directly from. It's available on Olama, the host, and there's many different models. You can see the context window here is 1 million token context window. I'll come on to that in a second, but essentially, this is designed to be like a Claude style creative reasoning model with a Quen 3.59B base. And so what you can do here is you can easily install it from Olama. If you don't have Olama set up already, this is a way to run free models. So you can use this terminal command. Once you've done that, make sure you have Olama running. Then you can run this terminal command and you can download the model and start running it directly. We've already plugged it into our Agent OS system so that we can test it out. You see, for example, we've got it inside the build section here. I'll show you what we've built with it in a second, but we can see all of our creations inside the local engine of our Agentic OS. So I'm going to run you through what it means, how it works, what it is, why it's different. And this is basically a free Claude style AI that runs on your own Mac. Now, is it like Opus 4.8 level? Probably not. Probably not. But is it decent and can it actually create stuff locally? Absolutely. So Quifos 9B is a Claude Mythos style creative and reasoning model that runs 100% on your own machine, which means no cloud, no token cost, nothing leaving your computer. We've already wired it into the Agent OS local engine, tested it out, and I'll show you exactly how it works. So you can see the details here. So it's pretty small as a model, only 5.6 gigabytes when we ran this version. And it was free to get from Olama. You can also see some stuff that we created with this just for fun, to test out, see how it works. So we created like a little to-do list here. As you can see, we can add new tasks. We can clear everything that we've created. So you can create like little mini apps. This was like a digital clock that we created that runs locally. And this is like a little snake game. Classic. So we put it to work. We tested it out. It actually works, which is pretty cool. And it's running privately. Here's a few more things. So actually one thing that surprised me genuinely was that it could create like a fairly nice design. I've seen like frontier models create worse stuff than this for the landing page, which was pretty nice. It created some stuff that was a little bit glitchy, but it even created like this calculator that seems to work as well. So we tested it with like 6 apps, all free, running it with Olama. You can see how it works inside the terminal right here as well. And there's 2 models that I've seen recently that have been interesting for local, which is Quifos and also Ornif 9B as well, which is something we tested out. From what I can see so far, I would genuinely say that probably Ornif 1.0 is outperforming it. I've got another tutorial on that, but so far it's pretty good. Now, if you're wondering, okay, what's the build speed like? So you can see the Quifos was a lot slower. Sorry, it had more tokens per second on short and build designs. It's a lot smaller as a task. It can build working apps. And the context window is insane for this, which is 1 million tokens. And also, Ornif and Quifos are both local free models. Now, both of them are great, but for the same work, Quifos actually came back twice as fast, which is pretty cool. Now, you might be wondering, okay, why is it called that? So it's a stack of 4 deliberate moves layered on top of an open Quen 3.5 9B base. That's why a model small enough to run on a laptop. I mean, 5 gigabytes is really, really small for a local model. It can write and reason like something far bigger. So the way this works is like it's based on Quen 3.5 9B, which is a strong open 9 billion parameter base model. Then you've got something that's trained on like Claude style reasoning and creative. From there, it has a 1 million token context window. So the context window has been stretched. And it's also quantized with Olama and Llama CPP. So it can think like Claude locally. It's designed for creative stuff. Big context window, reasons and calls tools, which is good for agentic. You can use it like so. You can also see the benchmarks here as well. Also, you might say, okay, 1 million token context window, that's amazing. That is really the ceiling. It's not going to run out. It's not going to run like that out of the box. So for example, it can still run out tokens on requests because Olama would load it with a much smaller window. The token window was tiny when we tested it out, actually. So depending on what memory you have, that's going to determine how many tokens this actually runs with. So the longer the window, the bigger the memory cost. So in the real world, you would pick a window that fits your RAM. And then you can see the different models here. So we use this model. There are some higher quality, more heavy models here, as you can see. And you've also got a near lossless state for Q8 as well. So there's lots of different models in terms of the size and everything else from Alama. So you can go with smaller, which is lighter and faster, but slightly less sharp, or you can go with bigger, which is closer to the original. So that's why we ran it in the middle. Honestly, I run it on a Mac Studio. You can see my settings over here. And it does struggle with local models sometimes. So I still don't think like local models are anywhere near frontier level, but they're pretty fun to try out and they are getting better and better. So what's great about this? It's free and it's private. It's pretty fast for its size. It's pretty light. Claude style brain, agent ready. So it has native tool and function calling, and it can actually build stuff. What's not great about it? So obviously it's 9B, so it's not a frontier model. The million token context window doesn't actually happen in reality based on my personal setup. It can be a bit slow loading up, and there's no built-in tools or memory or anything like that. It's just a model. Occasionally, it gets a bit messy as well. When we tested it, sometimes it would work really well, and then sometimes it would be a bit messy. So, for example, like I was talking about the context window here, when we were testing out inside the chat, sometimes it wouldn't fully load or it just cut off, as you can see right here. But then sometimes it would work perfectly, as you can see right here, right? So sometimes it does get cut off despite the large context window. So overall, it's pretty cool. Cool. You know, it's worth checking out Quifos 9B, 9 billion parameter, built on Qwen 3.5, Claude style thinking model, million token context window. You might say, well, it can't be any good, but actually you've seen it run, you've seen some of the stuff we've created, it's not bad. How it works is you ask it, Alama runs it, Quifos thinks, and this all stays offline on your Mac. So if you don't even have internet, you can still use this AI, which is pretty cool as well. You also might think like I need a massive setup for this, but it's only 5.6 gigabytes. To put that in perspective, like if you're installing Gemma 12B, that's about 20 gigabytes. So it's about a quarter of the size of Gemma for 12B, for example. Bear in mind as well, you can plug this into whatever you want, so whatever agent harness you want. So you could use this, for example, locally via Olama with Hermes agent as well. I haven't tested that. I don't know if you'd get good responses, but it could be worth testing out and seeing for yourself what it's like. And if you want to get our local engine wired into a system, not just a chat with the terminal, then you know a local model is powerful, but a local model running as the engine of your whole agent OS is pretty much unstoppable. So inside the app profit boardroom, you get our agent operating system that wires Quifos in as the local engine. So your agents can run on it by default. That means it's free, it's private, it can run with whatever you want. And the full agent operating system, including the local engine setup, the every prompt, the dashboard, 4 live coaching calls a week, daily tutorials, token optimization tutorials, etc., and a community of 3,800 builders. That's all inside the AI Profit Boardroom. Link in the comments description or go to the AIProfitBoardroom.com. If you're wondering what you get with the Agent OS, you can see some examples here. So we have the local engine setup, which means that we can use local models. We can switch this in and switch this out. So every time I test a new model, I switch the model, and then we can then see the workspace here. So everything that we've built, we can preview everything that we've created as well, which is pretty cool. We have free Claude code as well, which you can run with local models. And then, for example, if you like agents like Hermes, we've got all these different styles of using Hermes. So we have Hermes Jarvis, for example, Hermes Oracle built in for the latest news, a studio, we've got a workspace for seeing everything we've created, a lead generation tool as well for outreach. And then we also have mixture of agents, which is a brand new model from Hermes, a new system you can use to get like better outputs than Opus 4.8. It's pretty wild. So if you want to get that, link in the comments description or go to the AI Profit Boardroom. This is my AI community for helping you save time and grow with AI automation. Lots of people inside there using local models. Inside the classroom, you get access to all of our best trainings, and you can get the Agent OS from this section, along with new daily video tutorials and guides based on what you want to use. Inside the calendar, you can jump on weekly coaching calls, get help and support in real time. And inside the map, you can meet people in your local area who are building with AI agents like you. So feel free to get that. Link in the comments description, or just go to the aiprofitbomb.com. Thanks for watching. So today we're going to be testing out ORNIF 1.0, which is a new self-learning local model you can use. Scores pretty well on the benchmarks. You can see some examples right here. So this is a new free local model you can use. You can see how it compares versus Opus 4.7 here, and it's crushing on all the key benchmarks, as you can see. Now, we've already plugged it into our agent operating system, which you can see right here, and we can switch the model anytime that we want. So we can also run this with Hermes too. So if we go to Hermes, we set up a separate profile for ORNIF, and it can work agentically with Hermes as well, which is pretty cool. And you can get it for free on Olama. So just make sure you have Olama installed, and then you download Olama. Make sure you've got it open, and from here you can plug this into whatever you want, right? And you can see how to get the model. Now, if you're wondering how does this work, what is this doing, etc. So basically, this is a powerful system where you can run a local model. It comes from a company called Deep Reinforce. They dropped ORNIF, and it's an open coding model that scores pretty well on the benchmarks. If you want to see what we've built with it, here's some examples of different creations that we've made. You can see the full gallery here, and these are all different things that were built with ORNIF. So it actually can build useful stuff, interesting things, even apps and games and tools and that sort of thing, which is pretty cool. And some nice visual stuff as well, right? So it actually works. You can plug it into Hermes as well. You've already seen inside the chat that we've got Hermes or NIF plugged in, and it seems to work pretty well. Now, the interesting thing about this as well is like you can have a self-learning agent, which is Hermes agent, and then you've got a self-learning model, which is on NIF, and then you've combined them together, right? So you can kind of get the power of both just by using this system. If you're wondering how does it score on benchmarks, so it is outperforming Gemma 4 31B on the benchmarks here. And if we look how it compares versus flagship models, it's not doing too badly on there. I would test this stuff out yourself. I don't really pay much attention to benchmarks, but if you want to see the benchmark comparisons, you can see them right there. Now, what's interesting about this is it's self-improving. This is a strategy. This is the official blog from Deep Reinforce. So it's a self-improving training framework that jointly learns to solve tasks and to construct the scaffolds that guide those solutions. So it's building its own setup to get things done. So it'll roll out multiple solutions to solve the same problem, as you can see. So you got on if here, you give it the task, it starts working on building the system to build it out, and then it comes with three solutions to get that completed. And then from there, it self learns and improves for next time you use it. So that rather than relying on like a fixed human designed harness, it treats the scaffold itself as a learnable object that co-evolves with the policy. Right. Basically, what that means is like it's self-improving and it figures stuff out itself. It's a lot more independent. Now, this runs with RL, which is reinforcement learning. And so the way this works is it gets a task, looks at what was previously used for similar tasks, looks at the task description, then generates a solution rollout. And then that's repeated over training to give it a positive feedback loop so that it keeps improving over time. So if we look at the benchmarks here, for example, and we compare it versus Quen 3.5, 3.7 Max even, which is pretty impressive. I can't run Quen 3.7 Max locally, but if we look at the benchmarks here, we don't need to, right? On Terminal Bench 2.1 or NIF 1.0 is outperforming Quen 3.7 Max. Same for Terminal Bench 2.1 on Claude Code, SW Bench Verified, like it's crushing on the benchmarks here. So if you're wondering, okay, how does the whole self reinforcement learning process work? So it writes its own instructions. That's the trick here. And it's a reason a 9B model that you can run on a laptop scores so well and better than models many times its size. So most AI coders work inside a fixed recipe a human wrote. The recipe, the harness, tells the model how to solve a problem. Look here first, try this, then try that, etc. And every model gets the same recipe. But if that recipe is wrong for your problem, the model is stuck with it. Whereas with this situation, ORNIF would write its own recipe, which means for each task, it does two things. First, it writes a plan, so how it's going to solve the problem, and then it follows that plan to write the actual code. But when the result gets graded, the score doesn't just teach a code, it teaches a plan too. So both halves get improved. And then when that's trained over millions of times, the model doesn't just get better at writing code, it gets better at writing the plans that get better code in itself. So the strategy improves itself. It's a self-enforced positive feedback loop. And deep reinforce actually calls this self-scaffolding. So basically, it's a model that learns how to learn the task, then solves it. And that's why it performs so well. So here's how it works, right? You get the task, it writes a plan, it writes a code, then it gets graded, and then that feeds back into the system. Now, you might say this sounds technical to set up, but literally you just get Olama and you use one prompt command to download it. So it's pretty simple and easy. And also, you might say it's too slow, but it ran pretty well on my system as well. And if you want to see all the demos that we created with OnIF, we've actually built out a local leaderboard. So this is ranked across the tasks that I give it. And then we grade the size, who runs it, the license, how many tasks, how it's scored across each task. Obviously, it's not going to perform as well as frontier models, but this is a local leaderboard and we've separated that just to make it fair. And then we also have a main leaderboard here for frontier models as well. So you can sort of compare the differences and see them side by side. So everything that we've created with all of these local models, you can check out here, as you can see. And you can see what we've created and how we've built with it, etc. But if we actually look, for example, like this landing page, pretty nice, pretty sleek when it loads up. Looks super nice. It outperformed some frontier models on these same tests, so he's pretty good. I would choose this over something new that came out, for example, like Gemma 12B, that seemed to be too slow for me to run, and also Quiphos, which seems to break sometimes when I've tested it locally. And that's a new model that just came out. Now, also, if you plug this into our agent operating system, let me show you some of the systems we built for this. So first of all, we have the local Hermes engine. This is an offline agent that you can talk to, and this is driven by OnIF, right? So inside Hermes and the section here, we can switch to OnIF, and then we can run Hermes agent locally offline for free. We also have an agent Kanban. So what we can do is we can actually have teams of local models like OnIF working together inside a Kanban board like this and orchestrate them as well. You could do the same inside Paperclip too. Then we also have a local chat system. So if you go to the local section here, we can use local models, see what they're built, save inside the workspace, preview, etc. But there's a lot of interesting things you could do with this around the systems that we've already created. And the benefits again are that they're free, private, fast to run, and local AI is getting better and better. You might also think, okay, how does it compare against Squarephos, which is a new model if you're into local AI? I mean, Ornif is designed more for agentic coding, right? Whereas, for example, Queerfos is more designed for like creative writing and reasoning. And Ornif is based on the Gemma 4 and Quen 3.5 setup. Queerfos is based on Quen 3.5 9B. Also, big difference in context window here. But yeah, for Ornif, that's great for coding. That's what it's designed for. Queerfos is more, for example, for creative writing and that sort of thing. So if you want to get all of our systems for using this stuff, you can get it inside the AI Profit Boardroom. Link in the comments description. We've got the full agent OS inside there with the local engine, the full Hermes setups and systems that we have right here, and our mission control for managing all your agents in one place, plus a Kanban board where you can actually orchestrate teams of local AI agents. So feel free to get that inside our AI community. Link in the comments description or go to the AIprofitboard.com. Inside the community, you can ask questions and I answer them personally every single day. Inside the classroom, you can actually get access to all of our best training. So if you're a complete beginner, you can get the beginner to expert training here. If you want new daily updates on the new advanced stuff, you can get that over here. And we also have the full agent operating system that's updated daily with a video tutorial, full step-by-step guide, and a zip file to get this installed. Inside the calendar, you can jump on weekly coaching calls, get help and support in real time. Inside the map, you can actually meet people in your local area using AI agents like you. And this is all available inside the AI Profit Boardroom. Link in the comments description or go to the AIprofitboard.com. Thanks for watching. Cheers. All right, peeps. I think I've answered every single question, every single comment, every single question inside the community. Showed you 6 different new things with AI. That is it from me today. Appreciate everyone who tuned in. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye bye. Patrice says best community on the web right now. Very active place. Thank you so much, Patrice. Appreciate you tuning in. I'll see you on the next one.